So after months in the back of the pack, Republican presidential candidate Ron Paul is finally getting some attention. He set a one-day online fundraising record this week, and that has some folks taking a second look. He joins us live from the campaign trail at Independence Hall in Philadelphia, where you were joined by quite a few people there at the rally, Mr. Paul. So people are still getting to know you. You know, what's your best pitch? How do you tell people who you are?
Well, I'm a member of Congress. I've declared for the presidency in the Republican Party, and I stand for liberty. I stand for non-interventions forward policy and bringing our troops home. And I want very limited government and maximum amount of freedom, and a lot of Americans love the idea.
Do you like the idea that people are kind of calling you the anti-current administration Republican?
Well, no, I don't particularly like that because although I don't endorse most of the policies, but I haven't endorsed most of the policies of the Democrats for a long, long time. I endorse the Constitution, and we drifted from the Constitution, and my supporters understand this. They want constitutional law, limited government, maximum freedom, sound money, non-intervention foreign policy, and we have gone so far from that. I would say that I am a pro-constitutionalist, pro-freedom individual rather than being narrowly defined as being anti-one single administration.
And so a lot of folks might say that, you know, your campaign is kind of a throwback to, you know, the fundamental approaches of government. Yet, when we talk about the amount of money that you were able to raise in such a short amount of time, I mean, you're light years ahead of many others in terms of using the internet, really using this kind of modern-day approach to winning support. How'd you come up with that, and why? Was this kind of a page out of the Howard Dean kind of how-to?
No, I think it's exactly opposite of being a throwback. The government is a throwback. The current government we have, our current trends are a throwback to tyranny, where government runs things and individual freedom is minimized. America was all based on maximizing the freedom of the individual, and we've lost that. But that's a new idea. Tyranny has been around for thousands of years, and we have something new and wonderful, and we want to just restore that trend that we were given a couple hundred years ago. But in terms of history, it's a very, very new idea. I don't think Howard Dean had anything to do with what we're talking about.
Now, how do you break it down to, I mean, this is a scramble now. We're looking at less than a year from now, we will know who is president, or at least who is elected president, you know, of the United States. So, you know, are you really kind of cranking up the momentum of trying to reintroduce yourself to a lot of folks who don't, you know, who don't consider you a front runner, even though you're maybe the front runner in terms of fundraising? You still feel like you have a lot to prove to people?
Well, I think the final proof is getting votes in a primary, but I think obviously the strength of the campaign is much bigger than we've been given credit for, and the numbers that turn out to the rallies and the number of dollars that we raise and the enthusiasm. No, I would say the credibility is there, but I do agree that we have to prove ourselves, and we have to take that money, run a good campaign, get the people out to vote. But everything points to the fact that there's a lot of people who love the idea of freedom and limited government, so I would say we're well on our way to proving ourselves.
And, you know, one thing that has been driving a lot of voters' opinions has been the war in Iraq. Where does the candidate stand, XYZ? You've already reestablished the fact that you have been, you know, anti-Iraq war, but now we're finding out in recent polls that it's the economy that is now taking #1 priority among a lot of Americans right now. They want to hear from candidates, what are you going to do about the economy? Because everyone is kind of struggling. A lot more people are struggling right now. So what's your best pitch? How do you convince folks that you will be just as adamant, or I guess strong-willed about the economy as you have been about against the Iraq war?
And you bring two subjects up, and they're interconnected. You can't deal with the economy without dealing with the foreign policy, because the spending overseas is what's bankrupting the country and why the dollar is weak. And all empires have ended when they spread themselves too thinly around the world, and they can't afford it. And empires come to an end through financial means. The Soviet system didn't collapse because we attacked them. They collapsed for financial reasons.
Okay.
So you can't separate the economy from the foreign policy. We want to save money, balance the budget.
Excellent. Mr. Ron Paul, thanks so much. We're just coming up against a break at the end of the show. Thanks so much for your time, Republican presidential candidate. Good luck to you in the race, and thanks so much for your service as a former Air Force man, right? This Veterans Day weekend.
Appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
All right.